Ever been listening to your favorite podcast and think, hey, I want to start my own? Then you need Anchor. It's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First, everyone's favorite word free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hello, my beautiful people, and welcome back to the Bibliophile's Bookcase. I'm your host, Erica the Bibliophile, and this week we are discussing the series Little Miami Girl, parts 1 through 3, Antonia and Jahiem's Love Story by Diamond D. Johnson. There will be no synopsis this week because I am putting all three books together in this one episode, but I will be linking each book in the description if you want to go check them out for yourselves. So let's get into it. Okay, my beautiful people, like I said, we are discussing Little Miami Girl, parts 1 through 3 by Diamond D. Johnson. Diamond was another one of the authors that was caught up in the Leo Sullivan and Portia Sterling, what is it called? Like that drama, all of what was going on with the books and the authors not having the rights to their stories and things like that. And I had purchased the books before then, like before it was this scandal. Scandal was the word I was looking for. So this is a story like I think I read it like when it came out back in 2016. And I'm only prefacing this by saying that because I think when I did Brienne's book, I said I don't read high school books. Like, that's not really what I'm looking to read anymore. But this is in a high school setting, and I want to take that back. And I don't know if Brienne listens to any of my other episodes besides the one her book was on. I do want to apologize because I felt like I was talking down on her book, and I didn't mean to. I didn't mean that because her book was great. I think I did give her the proper props in saying I enjoyed the book, but maybe my tone was a little harsh, and I do want to apologize because that was a great book, and I don't think I should shut down those books because still, if you're a good writer, you can make any setting sound good. But yeah, so Antonia is a 17-year-old young lady who is a senior in high school who has a terrible home life. She lost both of her parents by the age of 6, and her aunt took her in, but her aunt does not like, she hates Antonia because of Antonia's mother, who is her sister. Her aunt Aunt Gina, excuse me. She has been abusing Tonia since she got in the house. Like, she cannot stand this little girl, and she has been beating her all this time. Now, Gina has 3 children of her own, PJ, and she has 2 twin little girls who are 4 years old. And so while she treats her kid, and she has an older daughter, Portia, excuse me, so she actually has 4 kids. But while Portia has her own room, Antonia has to share a room with the 3 smaller children. She doesn't have any nice clothes or anything like that. Her school that she goes to, they have to wear a uniform, but her uniforms are dingy, and she's just doing the best that she can with what she got, but she has a hard life. But she's a very smart student, and the thing that got me though is like the way she's described as looking like Lauren London. So she's light skinned and she's going to school with all these bruises, but nobody's stepping in to help her. You know what I mean? Because of course, even if somebody asks her like, hey, what happened to you? And her saying she fell down some stairs or fell off her body, that's not explaining the bruises on her body. And she has what she thinks is her one friend. Her name is Takara, that she talks to, but Takara is growing apart. Well, she been grew apart from Antonia. She's not looking to be seen with her, talk to her, none of that. She's trying to be a too cool for school type of girl with these other three girls that she's hanging out with. Um, so she started playing, paying Antonia dust. Like she tell her, I'm gonna go hang out with my friends. Why don't you hang out with your friends? Knowing that the girl don't have no other friends but her. And one day when Takara is at her house with her three new friends, she's talking smack about Antonia, and her mom is standing at the door and she can hear everything. And she sends those girls home and say, Takara got some schoolwork to do. Y'all can come back over this weekend, but as of right now, y'all gotta go. And when she, like when they leave, her mom is looking at her like, now you know what she's going through. So why would you sit up here and talk about that girl like that? Like you have a good home life. She doesn't. So there's no reason for you to be bashing her like this. And Antonia has an after school job as well. She works at Chick-fil-A. And all her money has to go to her aunt. Her aunt is charging her rent. Although her grown ass daughter Portia is living in the house too and don't do anything. They both just sit on the couch. But what I didn't like is that the aunt is portrayed as this angry, dark skinned, big, fat woman who, because it's just like, it's given the energy of, oh, this girl is light skinned and beautiful, and here's this dark skinned, heavy set woman who has four kids and is, living off the system. She's just so jealous of her. That's what it's giving. Even though that is the case, I'm like, why Gina couldn't be light skinned? Like, why they both can't be light skinned? And why she gotta be fat? It's just like that trope of being the angry black woman, although Antonia is also black. It's just like, eh. But not to say that these things don't happen too, but it's anyway. So when Portia asks Gina one day, like, why do you hate her so much? Like, why do you? Because Gina hits Antonia with the metal part of the belt, like hits her across her back with it. She hit her in her face. And she's like, why do you hate her so much? So the story that her aunt tells is that Antonia's father was a boy that she had a crush on. And basically, like, she saw him first, but Antonia's mom went after him anyway, and like they got together. But her father was shot going to pick up Pampers for Antonia at the store, and like two guys ran up on him in the car and shot him. So after he died, her mom got on drugs, and she was a crackhead, and she overdosed, and so that left Antonia with no parents. And so because this guy that you never talked to, never had any interaction with, and you just had a crush on, liked your sister, you're taking out this abuse on her daughter. And Antonia, I just hate, because it is Cinderella. It's very much giving Cinderella. And while Cinderella is one of my favorite Disney childhood movies, it's also fucking ridiculous. It's just like you going through that much abuse and still just being like, la di da, I'm so sweet, I'm so nice, I'm not gonna let this bother me at all. I'm gonna pray for you. It's just like, oh my God, please swing back, fight back. But Antonia, she's still sweet. And one day when she's coming home from work, it's like gunshots ring out, and she's running home, and she like trips over something, and this guy catches her and tells her, it's too late for you to be out here. You need to be at home. But she was coming from work. So it's like after she gets out of school, she has to go to work and don't get out till like 11 o'clock at night. And so,
I don't even know how if she said how far the mall was from her house. So it's just like she's not getting home till around like 12 o'clock each night, and she has to be to school at 7 o'clock in the morning. Like that girl ain't getting no sleep. Because even when she come home, her aunt expects her to clean the house after they done left it dirty all day, just sitting around doing nothing. So that's the first time she sees Jahiem, and he is a 23-year-old business owner. He owns a tattoo parlor, and he's also a tattoo artist. Um, and then they run into each other again. Well, she's at work, and him and his sister Shaniqua, I believe is her name. Cause I'm gonna do her story next. Her story was crazy too. Um, they were at the mall together. He was buying up the mall for her, just taking her shopping, and they stop at Chick-fil-A, and he sees her, and at first she's like happy to see him, but when she sees them two together, the smile she had on her face like disappears. And of course, like she don't know them, so she don't know that they brother and sister. Um, and they really don't have any interaction besides ordering the food. And so then they just keep running into each other, and they spark up a friendship. Oh, that's what it was. So it's senior ditch day, and Takara's mom like made her take Antonia with her. And when they get to the beach that they were ditching at, that's when Takara tells her, I'm gonna hang out with my friends and you can hang out with your friends. And at first Antonia laughed, like, girl, you so funny, stop playing. And she's like, no, I'm not playing. That's what I want to do. And it's like, she ain't got no other friends. And although she didn't say it out loud, Antonia's thinking, like, if you were just gonna ditch me, why did you even let me come? Like, I could have been at school for this. But she said sure. So she ends up going to a restaurant, or on her way to a restaurant, and Jahiem calls out to her, and they go to the restaurant together, and they're sitting down talking, and he tells her, like, who you out here with? And when she tells him the situation, he says, do not call that girl your friend no more. That is not your friend. You don't need to talk to her no more. And he's like, do you got anything in her car? And she's like, yeah, my book bag is in there. So when Takara and her three friends are walking past, he calls out to them like, hey, she said she left her bag in your car. Go get it and bring it back to us. And one of her friends, I forgot the little girl name, um, she's like, do my sister know you out here eating with the homeless? Like throwing shade to Antonia. And he's like, watch your fucking mouth. And I don't care what your sister know. Your sister not my girlfriend and she not gonna do shit. So like you saying that for what? Is that supposed to spark some fear in my heart or something? And he's messing around with the girl's older sister, Tanisha, who was like 26, 27, or something like that. Um, oh, yeah, I forgot. They also ran into each other when she went to Walmart after Gina and her kids went to Orlando with her boyfriend, just for a trip away. She was at home by herself. So she went to Walmart to steal some tampons for herself. And he like caught her and told her, like, I'll pay for it and I'll take you out to eat. And he took her to Red Lobster where the girl Tanisha works at. So that was Tanisha already saw them together, and then this will be the second time her sister running back and telling some stuff. So Tanisha know like the girl is more than just his friend or whatever. So, they're getting to know each other. Well, not really like they're attracted to each other, but they're not doing anything is the best way to put it. Because like he's 23 and she's 17, so it's really not appropriate. It's not even appropriate for them to be hanging out. But these things do happen, and it's not too much of an age gap, but it's still kind of. Um, but he just like his daddy. His daddy was 20 when he got with um Jaheem's mother at 15, which I was like, now that I don't know, because in the grand scheme of things, it's the same thing. Because 23 and 17, that's 6 years, and then 15 and 20, and it's just like, what? How is this okay? And I'm like, you know what? And the sad thing is, in the hood, This happens all the time, and it's really looked at as okay. But I was like, that shit, he said it too casually for me. But a little background on Jahiem. Jahiem, his father is in jail for life for murdering his mother's rapist. Um, when Big Jaw was out, he was deep in the drug game, and their mother was kidnapped, and while she was held, she was raped by her kid by one of her kidnappers. And so when he got her back, when Big Jaw got her back, and she told him what happened, he found the guy and he killed him, and he was arrested and was sentenced for life. So they talk to him on the phone all the time, but it's just like it's him left out here to take care of his little sister and their mother, because they both have the same mother and father. And so, oops, excuse me. So where was I at? So after that, he takes her home, and he's like, do you got a phone? Like, let me call you. And she's like, no, I don't have a cell phone, and you cannot walk me to my door. Like, I really cannot be seen with you. And so she hops out the car and, like jets to the door. And then, oop, nope, sorry. Damn, why am I getting this all wrong? When she says she doesn't have a phone, he takes her to Sprint and he buys her a phone, like gets her a new iPhone, and puts his number in and says, like, I'll be texting you, make sure you respond. But the part about him not taking her to the door was true. She's like, I really cannot be seen with you. And so they start texting, start going out. He brings her to his mother's house. Her and the mother get close because she's basically the mother figure that Antonia has always wanted but can't get because her life is so terrible with Gina. So, and also, look, child, it is terrible. Gina's boyfriend Rick has been raping Antonia for like a few months now, but she doesn't say anything because he comes in real late at night while and that's oh my god, doing it while 3 children are in the room. And he always threatens her, like, if you don't do this, then I'll go over and start touching on your little cousin. So either you want it to be you or you want it to be them. And so she's like, of course, no, I don't want that to happen. So she lets it happen to herself. And the way this book ends is him coming into her room again, trying to get on top of her, but Portia burst into the room with a gun, saying, you better get off of her. So leading into the second book, Gina, like, she doesn't even believe Portia, and Portia's like, it's true. I hear him tiptoeing into this room all the time. She's not lying about this. It's just like, Antonia never lies, though. She always tells the truth, and y'all just treat her so bad. And he's like, man, she lying. She be trying to get me to have sex with her, and I be telling her no. But it's just like, so why are you even in this room then? Like, what are you doing in this bedroom? There's no reason for you to be in here. And she's not strong enough to pull you in here and get you to come in this room. Like, what are you doing in here? And you have both of them saying that you're doing what you're doing. But Gina's just so desperate to have a man. She's like, I don't know why you think everybody wants you. Not everybody wants you. You ain't that special. And it's like, your jealousy is showing, because she never said that. She never said anything about her being special, about anybody wanting her. And if anything, she wants your nigga far the fuck away from her that she can get. Because I know she wanted to say, like, girl, if you could only see my man compared to this nigga you laying up with, child, please. But Gina hits her one too many times, and Antonia hits her back. She's like, you know what? I'm not going for this no more. And she calls Jahiem to come get her. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. And oh damn, I'm forgetting a lot of things. In the first book, she wanted to go to prom, so he paid for her prom dress, like got her all dolled up, and they went to prom together. And, like they had sex for the first time on her prom night. And then this happened. So it's just like that. And I think it was like the next week or something. She called him to come get her with bags and stuff in the car. And so when she explains to him what happened, you know, it's basically like history repeating itself because he's ready to ride out and go right back to that apartment and kill this nigga. And she's like, man, I lose you, which I was with Jahiem because she was like, if you go to jail and I lose you, I'll kill myself. He pulled that car over so motherfucking fast and was like, I don't know what's wrong with you, but I bet not ever hear you say no shit like that again. That is not what we gonna do. You not gonna lose me, and even if you did, like, girl, stand up. Basically, is what he told her. Like, girl, please, don't ever let another person be the reason you take yourself up out of here. Quit that shit. And so she's like, you're right. I'm sorry. And so now she's living with Jahiem. But Jahiem ain't letting it go completely. He made her promise that he not gonna kill Rick, but he definitely gonna find out where Rick at. And so while he takes her to school, he goes back to the apartment complex and asks the niggas that's staying around, like, shows them a picture of Antonia, like, her, what apartment she staying in. So he gets to the apartment, knocks on the door. Gina opened it up in a house coat, like got her titties sagging, like all her business out, trying to flirt. And it's like, girl, get your ass out the way. And so when he goes, like he pushes his way into the house, um, he see Rick on the couch and he just take his gun and just start whooping Rick ass with the gun. And it's like, so basically getting him to admit what he did, because he like, if you say that it didn't happen that way, you calling my girl a liar. And if you calling my girl a liar, I gotta whoop your ass even worse. And so Rick goes into this story of, man, she walking around here with these little shorts on, with these tops on, showing her nipples with no bra. Man, she made me do that. And it's just like, that made Jahiem go off worse. It's like, nigga, you can't justify your rapist ass. Like, shut the fuck up. And he pointed the gun at Gina because her kids had came out there. And he's like, man, take your kids to the back and close the door and mind your business. She didn't move, so he took the safety off. And that's finally when her ass moved and go to the back. And I know he wanted to beat her ass too because he knows that she's been beating Gina's ass. I mean, she's been beating Antonia's ass and let this happen to her all while under her roof. And Rick is sitting there in his boxes and he tell him too, like, it's little kids in this house. Like, put some fucking clothes on. You are not their parent for you to just be walking around all comfortable like this. And then so he leaves. And Antonia, like, when she comes home that day, she finds his clothes that he had on. Like, she's picking it up, trying to clean up the house. And she sees the specks of blood on his clothes. And she later has a conversation with him, like, I told you that I don't want to lose you. So it's just like, as long as you're not going to end up in jail, it's all good. So, their relationship is progressing until PJ, who was one of her cousins, her smaller boy cousin, is shot on his way home from school. I'm just trying to think, because yeah, they had got off the school bus and they went home, but Gina wasn't there. So it's like the door's locked and they have no way to get in. So they were at the apartment complex, like playground, waiting for Gina to come home. So when PJ thought enough time had passed and their mom should be home by now, he's walking them across the parking lot and somebody is shooting. And unfortunately, he's one of the ones that got shot. So at the hospital, Antonia gave blood, but her blood wasn't a match. So there's nothing that she could do for him. And she called Jahiem to come up there, and he comes up there with his friend Red. And Red is like, man, fuck it, I'll give blood. And Jahiem was like, you think that shit funny? Like, now's not the time for you to be playing games. And he's like, man, I'm not playing no games. That's my son. And John's looking at Antonio like, what the fuck is going on? Because they had ran into Red one time before, and when Antonia saw his face, like, she got the fuck out of Dodge. She was not trying to be nowhere near that nigga. And she's like, that's your friend like that? Like, that's your friend? And Red is Jaheim's best friend. And he's like, like, yeah, that's my nigga. Like, what's up? And come to find out that Red, when he was 17, he raped Antonia when she was 12, and that produced a baby. And instead of getting rid of the baby, Gina has been passing PJ off as her son when technically he is Antonia's son. And so after this happened, and Antonia having to explain once again that she was sexually assaulted by somebody else. So it's just like, I was even surprised that she could have sex with Jahiem, because none of her encounters, sexual encounters, have been positive ones. So with her, I know she's attracted to Jahiem, but even to be able to get in the bed with him, like on her prom night, it's just like, damn. I don't think I would have been able to do it. It's just like, because she didn't even tell him about Rick. So I know he's probably thinking like she's a 17-year-old girl, so she's probably had sex before, but like, no, none of those encounters were good encounters. And so Jahiem, like, he's fucked up behind this. And like, after Red gave his blood, though, he left the hospital. Talking, because he got a little chapter to himself, nigga, talking about he ain't scared, but it's a time and a place for everything. Like, no, nigga, you scared, you on the run, because you know how your best friend get down, and you know when he catch you, it's over for your ass. So what happens after that? So PJ now moves in with Antonia and Jahiem, because she tells Gina, she's like, my son is coming to live with me now. The secret is out in the open. I no longer have to pretend. So my son is coming with me. And they develop like a nice little family routine together, because Antonia graduated high school, valedictorian, type of her class, and she's starting college now. And she also has, well, she doesn't have to work, but she wants to. She's just like, I want to be able to do it all. I don't just want to sit by and let you take care of me, because they got money out the yin yang, and he's like, you could basically do whatever, just make sure you stay focused on school. And she's like, no, I'm still gonna work. Um, so when, ja- excuse me, Antonia went to go visit Big Ja in jail, because she told him, like, after explaining her story to him, she tells him, like, I can feel that Jahiem is following in your footsteps, and I'm so scared for him, so can you please have a conversation with him? And Big Jah's like, yeah, of course, no problem. You remind me so much of their mother. Basically, like, this is history repeating itself, but I will have a conversation with him. And after Jah had the talk with Big Jah informs him that Red got arrested and is now in the same jail that he is in. So he's like, what do you want to happen? Because I can make it happen. Speaking in code, basically saying, like, I can kill this nigga if you want me to. But Jah tells him, which I hate the terminology, but he says, do you have some homosexual men in there? Because I want done to him what he did to my girl. Um, And so Big John was like, oh yeah, that's no problem. Done. Um, and so after the men sexually assaulted Red, they beat him so bad that they killed him. And it was just like, damn, that is terrible. So then Antonia finds out that she's pregnant. They're having a baby girl. Then she also runs into Grace's Grace. Why do I keep saying Grace? Gina's mother. Where is Grace coming from? God, in the store, and it's like, you look so much like her, but you never come around. Like, I don't talk to you. Like, what's going on? And so she gets her grandmother's phone number and goes to meet her, and she takes Ja with her, like, I need you to sit with me so I can get some answers to my questions. And basically Gina is just like her mama. They're so hateful. They ain't got no love in their hearts for one another. They don't talk to each other. They're not gonna be around each other. So that's basically a dead end again, as far as finding out information about her family goes. It's just like basically all she knows is that her family is a family of hateful people that don't want to see anybody else make it and be happy. Okay, and so moving on from that, Big Jaw, like while the governor was visiting the prison that he's in, um, somebody had planned to stab the governor, but Big Jaw sees that and he steps in and he takes the stabs for the governor. And the governor comes visit him in the hospital and was like, why would you do that? He was like, would you rather it be you? Like, I just saw it and I just stepped in front of it because I'm just that type of person. And he's like, I didn't do it thinking that you would let me out. Like, I'm not looking for nothing. Like, don't even think that. Like, I just did what needed to be done. And you do have some people like that. It's just like, you finna stab this nigga for what? Because it ain't gonna break you out of jail or nothing like that. And you stab the government. Like, make it make sense. So it's just like, nigga, I see what's in your hand. I see what you about to do. Let me step in front of it. And the governor asks him, like, tell me your story. I feel like you got a story. So Big Job runs it down to him and it's like, so if somebody did that to your wife, what would you do? Like, honestly, what would you do? And the governor says, whoever did it, if I ever found out who they was, I bet I never find them, basically is what he said. So Big John's like, exactly, nigga, and that's the end of that. So because of his brave act, Big John is let out of prison. And, he goes home to his wife and his children. The mama was so happy. She's like, is this real? Like, how the hell? But it was so fun. Like, my first time reading this book, and even I just reread it to brush up on it because this is so random. But Diamond, she is a good writer. It's another series that I want to talk about, but her book involves like a lot of trauma, child. But it's another story I want to talk about. Not Shanique, like I am going to do Shaniqua's story because her story was crazy too, but it was a completely different one about a young lady who had like another. Oh, it's something about the sexual assault of young people, especially, that just tugs at my heart. But it was another young lady who had a baby early, and the child with special needs. That story was crazy too. So where was sorry, because I'm thinking about that story now. Lord have mercy. So Jahiem, they went to Vegas for a tattoo convention where the best work would win a check and like a trophy or something like that. And Ja ended up winning, and he also proposed to Antonia in Vegas. So they got married, and they had a baby girl who, what was the baby's name? I think the baby name was something cute. And, PJ, of course, like he calls her mom, and he loves everything about Ja. So they're just one big happy family. What is the baby's name? Oh, she named the baby Tori Grace Carter. Um, with an I instead of a Y, naming the baby after her father. So yeah, that's their happily ever after story, which was great. And Shaniqua's story, which I will do next, is in this story, she had an abusive ex-boyfriend who, that's why Jahiem was out there that night, because he was beating that guy up. And with him beating that guy up, cops came out and like shot a few warning shots in the air to get them to like run away and get away from that area. Um, But yeah, her story is up next, and that shit is crazy too. So please go check out Diamond D. Johnson on Amazon. Like I always tell you guys, I get the books through the Kindle subscription that I have, the Kindle Unlimited subscription. So you can either read the books that way, or you can also purchase them. As I always say, please support Black artists, give them a chance. Peace and blessings, my beautiful people.